everyone, I'm Christina from Starting Player. Welcome to our third video for 3 Kingdoms Redux. In this video, we will explain the rules of the game. Here is some historical background upon which the game is based. 3 Kingdoms Redux seeks to recreate the tripartite between the states of Wei, Wu, and Shu. You will assume the role of one of the 3 lords, namely Cao Cao, Sun Jian, and Liu Bei. Players start the game from asymmetrical positions, reflecting the manpower advantages that Wei enjoyed during the early part of this period. The weaker states of Wu and Shu protect themselves by forming an alliance. As a feudal lord, you will manage different aspects of running a state, as well as protect your borders against both rebellious border tribes and external enemies. Managing each aspect well will earn victory points for your state.
We begin this video assuming you have your copy of 3 Kingdoms Redux set up and ready for play. We have also uploaded an initial setup video, and you can view that video to find out how to set up the game. We start with an overview of the game. The objective of the game is to have fun. To win, you need to gain victory points. The player with the most victory points at the end of the game is the winner. If there is a tie for victory points, the player with the most number of gold and rice among the affected players will be the winner. If there is still a tie, the order of Shu, Wu, and Wei is followed among the affected players. There are 8 scoring categories in the game. Here is a brief introduction of them, with further details covered towards the end of this video. Military VPs. These are earned by stationing armies at border locations. Border location VPs. These are earned via border location tokens when a general is stationed to a border location with his army type specialization. Border VPs. These are earned by comparing the number of border locations occupied by your state with those occupied by your opponent along a shared border. Each state has 2 borders. Domestic development VPs. These are earned by comparing the total domestic development level of your state with that of your opponents. The total domestic development level is the sum of a state's farm development level and marketplace development level. Civil harmony VPs. These are earned by comparing the sum of your state's tribal relations level and the number of your popular support tokens with the same total of your opponents. Achieving high tribal relations levels also earns you additional VPs. Rank VPs. These are earned by comparing the rank of your state's lord with that of your opponents. Each incremental rank is also worth 1 VP. Han Emperor Token VPs. 2 VPs are earned by the holder of the Han Emperor token at the end of the game. State Enhancement VPs. These are earned based on the state enhancement cards you have played. Deficit tokens. These are collected by players for failing to meet certain conditions during the game. At the end of the game, the affected player loses 3 VPs for each deficit token collected. Next, we present and explain the game sequence. 3 Kingdoms Redux is played over a number of rounds, up to a maximum of 12. The game may end before round 12 if any of the endgame conditions is triggered in an earlier round. Each round is made up of a conflict phase, followed by a resolution phase. At the end of each round, update and maintenance takes place. Let us go through each of these phases in turn, beginning with the conflict phase. During the conflict phase, players recruit generals, select the alliance action space before bidding for the action spaces. We start with recruiting generals. Besides the initial recruitment during setup, general recruitment also takes place during rounds 3, 5, and 9. The recruit generals icon on the corresponding spaces of the round track reminds players to carry out the recruitment in these rounds. All players get to recruit new generals in these rounds. The number of general cards to be drawn and recruited may be different for the 3 states. Players may refer to their respective player aids for the number of general cards to draw and recruit for their state. Alternatively, players may refer to page 7 of the game rules. In any case, here is a summary of the recruit generals during these rounds. Note that players always draw 2 general cards more than the number they are recruiting for that round. After selecting the generals to recruit, players look for the newly recruited general tokens and keep them covered. This completes the general recruitment. The next step is to select the alliance action space. The numbers 1, 2, and 3 on the bidding order track represents the turn order of players during the conflict phase. The second and third players, as indicated on the track, forms an alliance in the current round. The third player gets to choose the alliance action space. This is done by placing the alliance token on a chosen common action space. The third player may discuss the choice of the alliance action space with the second player. The alliance action space may only be one of the 10 common action spaces. Without the no alliance symbols. This implies that the Control Han Emperor and Win Popular Support action spaces may not be chosen as the alliance action space. Players are also not allowed to choose the same action space as the alliance action space for consecutive rounds, even if different players become the third player in turn order. The alliance players may bid for the chosen action space together against the first player. If both alliance players bid for and win the alliance action space, then both players may take that action. If only one of the alliance players bids for and wins the alliance action space, then only that player may take the action. The other alliance player who did not bid on the alliance action space is not allowed to take the action. In round 1, Wu and Shu will be in alliance, with Shu selecting the alliance action space. After selecting the alliance action space, players take turns to bid for the action spaces. Each general possesses administration, combat, and leadership attributes. These form the basis for the bidding of the action spaces. The administration and combat attributes vary between 1 to 5. The leadership attribute vary between 1 to 2. There are a total of 18 action spaces. The bidding criterions for the action spaces is indicated by the icons at the top of the battle action spaces or at the bottom for the remaining action spaces. 12 of these are common action spaces and they are located at the center of the game board. All players may bid for the common action spaces. The remaining 6 action spaces are state specific and only players of certain states may bid for these action spaces. The bidding criterion for 5 of these common action spaces is administration. These are the develop farm or harvest, develop marketplace or collect tax, trade rice and or weapons, hire instructor and or import technology, and construct state enhancement action spaces. The bidding criterion for the other 5 common action spaces is combat. These are the produce spears horses, produce crossbows vessels, recruit armies, train armies, and demand tribute action spaces. The bidding criterion for the remaining 2 common action spaces, control Han Emperor and win popular support, depend on administration or combat. Their bidding criterions must be different from each other and alternate from round to round. This is accomplished by flipping the criterion markers at the bottom of their spaces during update and maintenance. As mentioned previously, there are 6 state-specific action spaces. 3 of these are the battle action spaces. There is a battle action space between every pair of states. As such, each state has 2 battle action spaces at its border against its 2 opponents. Players may not bid for the battle action space that is not along their border. For example, Shu may not bid for the battle Wei Wu action space. Bidding for the 3 battle action spaces depend on the sum of each assigned general's combat and the number of assigned army units. The leadership attribute of a general determines the maximum number of army units that can be assigned with the general. A general may be assigned to bid for battle action spaces without any army units, but army units cannot be assigned for bidding without any general leading them. If more than one army unit is assigned with the general for bidding, they must be of the same type. However, if additional generals are assigned for bidding at the same battle action space, they may be assigned with a different type of army unit. The other 3 state-specific action spaces are the 3 improved tribal relations action spaces, 1 for each state. Players may only assign generals to their own improved tribal relations action space and may assign at most 1 general. As such, players are guaranteed of this action during the resolution phase as long as they assign a general to their own improved tribal relations action space. The general may be assigned with either army units or gold tokens, but not both to the improved tribal relations action space. The maximum number of army units or gold tokens that may be assigned is equal to the leadership attribute of the assigned general. If more than one army unit is assigned, they must be of the same army type. Bidding proceeds in the following manner. Players take turns based on the bid order track to assign one of their generals to bid for an action space. This is done by placing the general token face up on the desired action space. Only one general may be assigned per turn. Once assigned, they cannot be changed. Each state may assign more than one general to the same action space per round. For example, the bidding order is Wei, Wu, and Shu. Wei goes first and assigns Xun Yu to develop farm or harvest. Wu is next and assigns Sun Jian to recruit armies. Shu is last and assigns Zhuge Liang to develop marketplace or collect tax. It is then Wei's turn again, and so on. When a player has run out of generals to assign, his turn is skipped. Bidding continues until generals of all players have been assigned. Players may pass on their own turn when they still have generals on hand, but this brings an end to their bidding for that round. There is no benefit for any unused generals after the bidding. Players may increase a general's bid via the general's skill, the Han Emperor token, and or popular support tokens. The Han Emperor token and or popular support tokens have to be placed together with the general token during bidding. They may not be placed separately on their own. The means to obtain these tokens will be explained later in this video during action taking under the resolution phase. During the resolution phase, the player with the highest bid for an action space based on its bidding criterion wins the bid and gets to carry out the associated action. In the case of a tie, the player who reached the highest bid total first is the winner of that action space. For example, Wei and Shu have put in bids of 5 and 4 respectively for the construct state enhancement action space. In the absence of further bids, Wei will win the bid. If Shu adds to its bid with a 5, which is then followed by Wei with a bid of 4, then both states have put in a total bid of 9. Since Shu reached the bid total of 9 first, Shu wins the bid. The end of bidding also brings an end to the conflict phase of a round. We now move on to the resolution phase. During the resolution phase, players remove general tokens for action spaces they did not win, determine the turn order for the next round, take the actions for the action spaces they won, reduce their tribal relations levels where applicable, and activate any end of the year benefits. Here is an example of how bidding may have turned out. Players who lost the bid for an action space return the corresponding general tokens and Han Emperor token, if applicable, to their own supply. Any popular support tokens used in the bidding with the general tokens are returned to the general supply. The general token that was turned over and left on the control Han Emperor action space from the previous round is also returned to the corresponding player's supply. Players who won action spaces leave their corresponding general tokens with the Han Emperor and or popular support tokens, if applicable, on the action spaces for now. After removing general tokens for action spaces they did not win, we will determine the turn order of the following round. Count the number of successful bids for each player. The total includes the alliance action and the improved tribal relations action, if taken by a player. Rearrange the state action markers on the action order track in the same order as the state markers on the bidding order track. The state action markers serve as a reference for the turn order when taking actions. The turn order for next round's bidding is then determined based on the total number of successful bids for the current round. The player with the highest, second highest, and lowest number of successful bids will take turn order 1, 2, and 3 respectively. Continuing with our earlier example, Wei had 3, Wu had 6, and Shu had 5 successful bids. As such, the turn order for next round's bidding will be Wu, Shu, and Wei. Rearrange the state markers on the bid order track in that order. In the case of a tie, the first tiebreaker is based on the military VPs of the affected players. The player with the highest number of military VPs take the smaller turn order among the affected players. Continuing with the example, assuming Wu had 5 successful bids instead of 6, Wu will be tied with Shu, and both states enter the first tiebreaker. In such a case, we look at the military VPs of Wu and Shu. If Shu has 4 military VPs and Wu has 3 military VPs, then Shu will take the smaller turn order and is first, with Wu at second. In the case of a further tie, the second tiebreaker will be based on the order of Wei, Wu, Shu among the affected players in increasing turn order. Continuing with the example, if both Wu and Shu have 4 military VPs, then we take the default turn order of Wei, Wu, Shu. This implies that Wu will be first, Shu will be second, and Wei is last, since Wei took the least number of actions. After determining the turn order of the following round, players will take the actions for the action spaces they won the bid on. The player order in which the actions are taken is shown by the state action markers on the action order track. Return general tokens, army units, and the Han Emperor token if applicable from the action spaces to the player's supply as each corresponding action is carried out. Any placed popular support tokens are returned to the general supply. The sequence for taking the actions is determined by the players, and they may choose not to take an action won. Let us go through each of these action spaces in turn. Develop marketplace or collect tax. At the beginning of the game, all players' marketplace development spaces are covered with 5 marketplace tokens with the undeveloped side faced up. This indicates that the marketplace development level is at 0. A player taking this action may either develop his state's marketplace or collect tax, but not both. To develop marketplace, flip one marketplace token over to the developed side, starting from the leftmost token. This indicates that the player has developed his marketplace by 1 level. To collect tax, move any number of the flipped marketplace tokens, i.e. those with developed side face up, from the state's marketplace development space to the treasury space. Collect 4 gold tokens per remaining flipped marketplace token not placed on the treasury and remove these unplaced marketplace tokens from the game. For example, Wei has 3 developed marketplace tokens on its marketplace development space. Wei takes the collect tax action by moving 2 developed marketplace tokens to the treasury and exchanging the last developed marketplace token for 4 gold. Every marketplace token on the treasury reduces the station armies upkeep by 1 gold token during every subsequent update and maintenance. Develop farm or harvest. At the beginning of the game, all players' farm development spaces are covered with 5 farm tokens with the undeveloped side faced up. This indicates that the farm development level is at 0. A player taking this action may either develop his state's farm or harvest, but not both. To develop farm, flip 1 farm token over to the developed side, starting from the leftmost token. This indicates that the player has developed his farm by 1 level. To harvest, move any number of the flipped farm tokens, i.e. those with developed side faced up, from the state's farm development space to the granary space. Collect 5 rice tokens per remaining flipped farm token not placed on the granary and remove these unplaced farm tokens from the game. For example, Wei has 4 developed farm tokens on its farm development space. Wei takes the harvest action by moving 3 developed farm tokens to the granary and exchanging the last developed farm token for 5 rice tokens. Every farm token on the granary reduces the station army's upkeep by 1 rice token during every subsequent update and maintenance. Trade rice and/or weapons. A player taking this action may carry out either 1 trade involving rice, 1 trade involving weapons, or carry out both types of trades. Players decide on the order of the 2 trades. When carrying out a trade involving rice, the player may either buy 4 rice with 3 gold or sell 4 rice for 5 gold. The limit for each rice trade is 12 rice. When carrying out a trade involving weapons, the player may either buy 3 weapons with 5 gold or sell 3 weapons for 7 gold. The limit for each weapon trade is 6 weapons and may involve a mix of weapon types. Weapons refer to spears, horses, crossbows, and vessels. For example, Shu trades 2 horses and 4 vessels for 14 gold, then trades 9 gold for 12 rice. Hire instructor and/or import technology. A player taking this action may either hire instructor, import technology, or carry out both actions. To hire instructor, pay 1 rice to train up to 2 untrained armies by flipping them to the trained side. To import technology, draw 1 state enhancement card from either the separation deck or unification deck. The separation deck provides players with alternative ways of scoring BPs, while the unification deck provides players with alternative ways of collecting resources. There are a number of cards in the separation deck with prerequisites that have to be met before they can be played. It may therefore be useful to draw the separation deck during the early game to help form a longer-term strategy. Construct state enhancement. A player taking this action may play one of the state enhancement cards from his hand by ensuring the card's prerequisite is met and paying its cost. Once played, the benefit of the state enhancement card lasts for the duration of the game. Any VPs earned is stated on the state enhancement card. Produce spears, horses. A player taking this action may collect 2 spears, 2 horses, or 1 spear and 1 horse from the general supply. Produce crossbows, vessels. A player taking this action may collect 2 crossbows, 2 vessels, or 1 crossbow and 1 vessel from the general supply. Recruit armies. A player taking this action may collect 2 untrained armies from the general supply. Train armies. A player taking this action may train up to 2 untrained armies by flipping to the trained side. Demand tribute. A player taking this action may collect 2 gold, 2 rice, 1 gold and 1 rice, or 1 untrained army from the general supply. Win popular support. A player taking this action may collect 1 popular support token from the general supply. Control Han Emperor. A player taking this action may pay 1 gold to the general supply and move the corresponding state marker up the rank track by 1 rank. The player then has to leave one of his bidding general tokens on the action space. This general is not available for any bidding in the following round. During update and maintenance at the end of each round, the winner of this action space collects the Han Emperor token from the previous winner or from the general supply if no one bids for the action space in the previous round. Battle. A player taking this action may station 1 and only 1 of his generals and the army units the general is leading to an unoccupied border location. This is carried out by moving the general token and corresponding army units from the battle action space and placing them on the desired unoccupied border location space. Remove the border location token on the just occupied border location and place it on the player's choice of his state's treasury or granary. Any remaining generals and army units that are not stationed are returned to the player's supply. The following rules apply during stationing of general and army units at unoccupied border locations. The general must be stationed with at least 1 army unit to a border location. If the general was assigned to bid for the battle action space without any army units, that general may not be stationed to the border location even after winning the action space. The type of army units stationed must match that denoted on the border location. A general may be stationed with any army type. However, each general specializes in 1 or 2 army types as denoted by the army type icons on the general card. When placing the border location token on the player's choice of his treasury or granary, flip the border location token over to the 1 VP side if the general is stationed with army units of his army type specialization. Otherwise, place the border location token with the 0 VP side face down. Every border location token placed on the player's granary and treasury reduces his stationed army's upkeep by 1 rice and 1 gold correspondingly. Stationed generals and army units remain at the border locations until the end of the game. They are therefore not available for bidding of action spaces in future rounds. Once a border location is occupied, no player may station additional generals and army units to it. The second border location occupied by each player must be at the opposite border from the first. The third and subsequent border locations occupied by each player can be carried out without any restriction. Improve tribal relations. A player taking this action may move his tribe marker up the tribal relations track. If the general was assigned without army units or gold, the player maintains his state's tribe marker at the current level. If the general was assigned with 1 army unit or 1 gold, the player moves his state's tribe marker up the tribal relations track by 1 level. If the general was assigned with 2 army units or 2 gold, the player moves his state's tribe marker up the tribal relations track by 2 levels. Any assigned gold tokens is paid to the general supply. Any assigned army units is returned to the player's supply. If tribal relations level of 12 is reached or maintained, the player may also pay 2 rise tokens to receive 1 popular support token. This completes the explanation of all action spaces. After all the players have taken their actions, players will reduce their tribal relations level if the improved tribal relations action was not taken by the player in the current round. All affected players move their corresponding tribe marker on the tribal relations track down by 1 level towards the minimum of level 1. Players may have recruited generals or constructed state enhancements that provide benefits at the end of the round. For example, Ma Chao's skill of cavalry mastery or Butter Market state enhancement. These benefits are received or activated now, and the sequence in which they are received or activated is determined by the player. This brings an end to the resolution phase of a round. We now move on to the update and maintenance at the end of each round. These take place at the end of each round where any of the endgame conditions are not triggered. During update and maintenance, players pay upkeep, earn military VPs, and carry out various updates in preparation for a new round. Flip the Criterion markers on the Win Popular Support and Control Han Emperor action spaces to the opposite side to reflect the change in Criterion for bidding of these action spaces in the next conflict phase. The winner of the Control Han Emperor action space during the resolution phase collects the Han Emperor token from the general supply or the previous winner. Every 2 popular support tokens in the player's supply require upkeep of 1 rise token. For example, if a state has 3 popular support tokens on hand, it needs to pay 1 rise for their upkeep. Every station army unit requires upkeep of 1 gold token and 1 rise token. However, the total number of gold tokens required is reduced by the number of marketplace and border location tokens on the state's treasury space. Similarly, the total number of rise tokens required is reduced by the number of farm and border location tokens on the state's granary space. For example, Shu has stationed 2 generals with 4 army units to border locations. Shu needs to pay 4 rice and 4 gold for their upkeep. However, Shu has 2 border location tokens on its granary space and 3 marketplace tokens on its treasury space. Shu therefore only needs to pay a total of 2 rice and 1 gold for its stationed army's upkeep. Award 1 military VP for each stationed army unit, including army units stationed in previous rounds, to every state. Sum up the total military VPs earned by each player and update the corresponding state's marker on the military VP track. In this example, Wei, Wu and Shu earns 4, 3 and 4 military VPs respectively. Advance the round marker to the next round space to denote commencement of a new round. This brings an end to the update and maintenance, and the new round begins. The game has a maximum of 12 rounds, but it may end earlier when any of a number of endgame conditions is triggered. The game ends immediately after the resolution phase of the round when any of the following conditions is met. Round 12. A player reaches level 5 for both his farm and marketplace developments. A player gains promotion to Emperor and has therefore disposed the Han Emperor. A player stations his 5th general to a border location. If any of the above endgame conditions is triggered during a round, the update and maintenance after the resolution phase is not performed for that round. The game ends immediately after the resolution phase. At the end of the game, the VPs are totaled for each player. We will explain each scoring category in turn. Military VPs. Read off the total military VPs earned by each player directly from the military VP track. In this example, Wei, Wu and Shu has 16, 13 and 18 military VPs respectively. Border location VPs. Sum up the total number of VPs from the border location tokens on each player's granary and treasury spaces. In this example, Wei, Wu and Shu has 2, 4 and 4 border location VPs respectively. Border VPs. For each border, the player occupying more border locations than his opponent at that border wins that border. Border VPs are awarded in the following manner. In this example, Wei lost both borders and is awarded 0 border VPs. Wu won both borders and is awarded 5 border VPs. And Shu won 1 border and lost the other and is awarded 2 border VPs. Domestic development VPs. Sum up the farm and marketplace development levels of each player at the end of the game. VPs are awarded by comparing each state's total development levels as follows. In this example, Wei's total domestic development level is 7. Wu's total domestic development level is 5. And Shu's total domestic development level is 8. Wei, Wu and Shu are therefore awarded 2, 0 and 5 domestic development VPs respectively. Civil Harmony VPs. Players who attain tribal relations levels of 9, 10, 11 and 12 at the end of the game are awarded 1, 2, 3 and 4 VPs respectively. In this example, all 3 states earn 4 Civil Harmony VPs. Next, sum up the tribal relations level and the number of popular support tokens of each player at the end of the game. Additional Civil Harmony VPs are awarded by comparing each state's total as follows. In this example, Wei's total is 14, Wu's total is 16, and Shu's total is 12. Wei, Wu and Shu are therefore awarded 2, 5 and 0 Civil Harmony VPs respectively. Ranked VPs. Each rank earned during the game is worth 1 VP. In this example, Wei's rank is Emperor and earns 5 rank VPs. Wu's rank is Duke and earns 3 rank VPs. And Shu's rank is Governor and earns 0 rank VPs. Additional VPs are awarded by comparing each player's rank at the end of the game, as follows. In this example, Wei, Wu and Shu earns 5, 2 and 0 rank VPs respectively. Han Emperor Token VPs. The holder of the Han Emperor token at the end of the game is awarded 2 VPs. That is, the player who won the Control Han Emperor action space in the penultimate round. In this example, Wei won the Control Han Emperor action space in round 8 and earns the 2 Han Emperor token VPs. State Enhancement VPs. Most state enhancements attract VPs when played. These are stated at the bottom right corner of the state enhancement cards. Some state enhancements also award additional VPs for meeting certain criteria. In this example, Wei, Wu and Shu earns 4, 5 and 10 state enhancement VPs respectively. 2 of Shu's 10 state enhancement VPs are awarded for meeting pulp paper making's criteria. Deficit tokens. There are 3 situations where players have to collect deficit tokens. Tribal relations level reaches or remains at level 1. Insufficient gold or rice tokens for payment of station armies upkeep, i.e. 1 gold token and 1 rice token for every army unit station. The player collects 1 deficit token for each lacking gold or rice token. Insufficient rice tokens for payment of popular supports upkeep, i.e. 1 rice token for every 2 popular support tokens. The player collects 1 deficit token for each lacking rice token. Each deficit token carries a penalty of -3 VPs. Sum up the total number of negative VPs of the deficit tokens on hand, if any, and deduct them from the player's total VPs. The player with the highest VP total is the winner. In case of a tie, the player with the highest number of gold and rice tokens on hand is the winner. If there is still a tie, the order of Shu, Wu, and Wei is followed among the affected players.
We hope this will provide you with an overview of the gameplay. We have also uploaded a game component video and a game setup video which you can watch from our YouTube channel. 3 Kingdoms Redux is now available for purchase at our online store at starting-player.myshopify.com. We have come to the end of this video and thank you for watching it.